Greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to this video for Fork This Life, written by Jinxes 2011. This video contains chapter 22, and as always, I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider subscribing. Chapter 22, Ferdinand, Paladin's Gods, and a largely ignored fork. Ferdinand POV. Seeing a village in the distance, I adjust my course towards it. Not long after, Gerald's voice pops into my head again. "Might want to speed up a bit," he says, "those skeletons in that village." Again. It was only slightly over a week since the last time, and it couldn't be that I just so happened to find the only two skeleton-infested villages, can it? What in the world is the army doing, letting some necromancer run rampant in the villages like this? These thoughts cross my mind for a few moments before I discard them and focus on the more pressing matters at hand. I start running towards the village, but I don't draw my sword yet. It will only get in the way when I'm running. It only takes me a few minutes of running to make my way there. As I arrive at the edge of the outlying fields, I am greeted with a very odd sight. In each of the fields on either side of me, there is a single skeleton wielding a hoe. I rub my eyes, but my sight does not change. They are still repeatedly lifting their hoes and striking the same place on the ground, doing nothing more than deepening the line in the dirt. I saw this earlier, but this is normal skeleton behavior? Gerald asks, sounding about confused as I feel. Completely unable to figure out any reason why they would be doing such actions, I say. I don't know much about skeletons, but I'm going to guess no. No, this is not normal. Okay then, kill them anyway. I draw my sword. Kill them anyway. Vaulting over the fence and surrounding the field on my right, I move towards the skeleton there. As I approach, it starts acting strange and starts acting as I would expect a skeleton to act, by attacking anything near it. In this case, me. The skeleton lifts a hoe and swings it at me. I dodge it, and it may be a farming tool, but it can still deal quite some damage. After the tool passes harmlessly in front of me, I dart in and break off its arms with my sword, causing the hoe to drop to the ground. After that, I make short work of it. I didn't even break a sweat from that, and vaulting over the fence and into another field, I move to take out the other skeleton. If anything, that one is easier than the first, quickly jumping as it gets to strike the ground once more. It can't pull up in time before I take off its skull in a swell slash. Vaulting back over the fence once more, I walk along the path and further into the village, and I get closer as the sky starts to dim slightly, and I look for the opportunity to ask Gerald for more information on the village. Looks like about 30 in the village itself, but there seems to be a skeleton in every field as well. About 10 of them that I can see, but there should be fields that I can't. Nobody living except us, unfortunately. Which means that the villages are either dead or have escaped. Speaking of dead villages, where were the corpses of that last village? Hadn't quite a few of the villagers died in the escape, and yet there were no corpses. Had they just been turned into skeletons? It is unlikely for me to figure anything out, even if I consider it further, so I throw the matter to the back of my mind and venture into the main area of the village. As I enter, the skeletons turn their skulls creepily towards me and brandish their rusted weapons, moving in to attack. They creep out of the buildings and spaces in between the buildings and to the sound square. Taking a deep breath, I ready my own weapon. There may not be as many here as there were last time, but there is only me facing them this time. Taking out a single skeleton is a simple task. 1, maybe 2 solid hits is all it takes, but with a horde of them, you have to be wary of the attacks coming from multiple directions. Make sure they don't surround you, and at the same time get an attack in every now and again. I make my way into a space between 2 buildings, which is small enough to restrict the approaching skeletons to come 2 at a time. Doing this makes it much easier, and I make short work of the 7 skeletons before Gerald alerts me to some starting to loop around the other end. Escaping before they surround me, I find another gap, repeating the process until the skeletons in the village are nothing more than scattered bones. And I'm quite exhausted. I sit in the town square, half wondering whether the well would be safe to drink from, or if it, like the other plant life around me, had also been poisoned by the death energy. Better not risk it, but the thought makes me wonder how those villagers are doing. Just as I start catching my breath, Gerald pops into my head again. "That elven woman with the armor and the horses coming here, and it looks like she's brought a friend," he says. "Thanks. Is the other person a paladin as well?" I ask curiously. "Paladin? Well, they're wearing similar armor and weapons, so probably," Gerald says hesitantly. "All right, not wishing to repeat my mistake from last time, I ask one more question. Is the new one a man or a woman?" "Man, actually. He looks even younger than you, so I don't know if he would become old enough." He cuts himself off and asks a question. "What age do people become termed as a man and a woman rather than a boy and a girl?" I think about it briefly. I couldn't say about places outside of the Empire, but here it's about 16. "Ah, thanks. He's probably a bit older than 16. See, why I ask is because where I'm from it's 18, and I knew about some places where it is as high as 21, he explains. Interesting, but does it really matter all that much? It's just a way of calling someone after all. Taking a swig from my water bottle, I run my tongue over my dry lips and continue to sit where I am. I have no doubt that they will soon be here. As far as I know, most churches detest the undead, so they won't pass up the chance to destroy some. And sure enough, a few minutes later, I can see the two paladins on their steeds trotting down the street towards me. Standing up, I sling my backpack over my shoulder, and I watch them draw close. Because of the similarity in design of their armor, I can hardly tell the two apart. Dismounting from the steeds, they walk towards me, stopping a couple meters away. The one on the right asks suspiciously, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Since he doesn't sound like a paladin I met last time, I assume that this one is a man. I am about to reply when the other paladin pushes up a visor, revealing a face that, all I can say is that the elven reputation for beauty is in no way exaggerated. Her eyes remind me of a field in spring when they covered in a carpet of vibrant green. "You're that adventurer who is helping villagers reclaim their village from skeletons, are you not? Why are you here?" she asks. "I was traveling and saw the village in the distance, so I went towards it. Then I found all the skeletons here, so I started to clean them out." I shrugged lightly. "I don't suppose you know where all of the people who lived here are?" I asked. She frowns. "As far as we can tell, they all perished in the initial attack." "And who is that behind you?" My head whips around and I see Joe standing there smiling and waving. Since when was he there? I'm not sure what to say about him. That's Joe. I'm not all too sure why he follows me around, but he's a good person as far as I can tell. "Because I was bored, obviously," says the now significantly less grimy old Joe. "Figured I'd find someone interesting and tag along in their adventures." "Then why me?" I ask him, bewildered. "Oh, come on. With all the things that you've encountered in the past month or two, you're asking that," Joe says, raising his eyebrows. He begins to count them off on his fingers. "First, you discover an ancient ruin that's fully operational. Survive an encounter with the Spider. Befriend one of the former top brass of the Empire's navy. Survive an encounter with his murderer. Kill the... Wait, no, that one hasn't happened yet. But you get the drift." What was he about to say? The Lady Paladin looks a bit confused but addresses me again. "Would you be willing to assist us in defeating the necromancer who did this? If he's sending out the skeletons in each village he attacks, I'm afraid that he may have several hundreds to defend himself, as well as a more powerful undead. We may not be able to handle them all ourselves. But surely, with the holy magic going on bane of the undead, we would be able to defeat the necromancer with relative ease." The male paladin asks the other. She turns her head to face him. "Luck, would you like your eventual death to be because of your stubborn refusal to accept help?" "No," Luck replies, taken aback. Remember that while we help others, we are not to be above receiving help from others. She reprimands and then turns her head back to me. So, are you interested? I smile warily and shake my head. I would be happy to, but I don't think I'm as strong or as skilled enough to be able to fight against a weak necromancer, let alone a strong one. Last time I tried something like that, I nearly died. Her eyebrows furrowed. How about if we train you as we travel? Accept her offer, Gerald said suddenly. I was about to do it. Then I gladly will join you, I agree happily. But why would you trust a random adventurer like me? Although the question is addressed to the female paladin, it is Luck who answers. Because we paladins have skills to detect lies and intentions, and you haven't spoken a single falsehood or had a single impure intention during this whole conversation. I pause. Well, that would explain it. How about you, Joe? Will you also come with us? She asks. I glance at him and he shrugs nonchalantly. Sure, but I'll have to give you full warning though. I don't fight. I won't get in the way and I will keep up with your traveling, but the most I can offer is a few wise words every now and again. For some reason she just nods and accepts this. Maybe like me, she realized the futility of arguing against a guy who doesn't care about your opinion. Well, at least he's honest about it. Luck flips up his visor, revealing a face similarly graced with elven beauty, and offers a gauntleted hand. I shake it. It feels strange. I've never shaken hands with someone wearing metal armor before. My name is Luck, and I pray that we get along well on our future journeys, he said warmly. She offers her hand as well, and when I shake it, it feels startlingly different from his, despite the gauntlets being so similar. While his grip was firm and strong, hers was somehow gentle and yet not way weak. My name is Lily, she says with a small smile, and then asks, and yours is? Finally reminding me that after all of this I still hadn't introduced myself. I'm Ferdinand. As I look at the two paladins, I can't help but notice a black cat slinking across the edge of the town square. I don't think of it at first, but until I remember Gerald telling me about the cat in the last skeleton-infested village he visited. Lily catches my gaze and turns around. When she sees the cat, she turns back to me and shrugs slightly. Just a cat. Why? I say slowly, asking the very same question that Gerald asked me not so long ago. Is there a cat in an area full of undead that hate anything living? Lily's eyes widen and quickly catches a small furry feline. Why didn't we notice this sooner? She mumbles, looking intently at the cat as she's holding it in one gauntleted hand. Enslavement magic, observation magic. Now that I think about it, there must have been one of these in every village we visited. The necromancer has been watching us the entire time. She exclaims in frustration. Are you able to track where the magic is coming from? Asks Luck seriously. Perhaps if... The cat falls limp in her hand, causing her face to darken slightly. The necromancer killed it and cut off their connection to it before I was able to get anything more than a rough direction. Southwest. Luck asks, do we head in that direction then? Lily narrows her eyes for a moment, thinking, no, we will find some more of these skeleton villages, purify them, and find some more of these cats. Then I shall be able to pinpoint the necromancer's location. With that said and done, Lily and Luck roam around the village for a few minutes, purifying the earth energy that lingers in the area. After this, a pair of paladins remount on their steeds, and Lily pulls me up behind her. Grip with your knees, but not too hard, or you could hurt him, she advised, and put your arms around my waist. Slightly dumbfounded, I awkwardly do as she said, gripping the horse's flanks with my knees and wrapping my arms around her heavily armored waist. In a brief moment of clarity, I adjust my sheath so that it won't poke into the horse while we're riding. I might not have ridden a horse before, but I know enough about them to know that irritating them is something that you would not want to do. After that, I must have fallen into some sort of daze, because the next thing I know, we're already trotting around the road. In my defense, this is the first time I've been so close to a woman, even if she is wearing a suit of armor. twisting my head to look around a tad. I'm taken aback about how far from the ground I am. I mean, I have no problems with heights, but it is a very strange sensation to see and feel yourself moving along while your feet dangle off the ground. The distinctive smell of the horse tickles my nostrils, and I catch sight of Joe behind us. Not unlike Sauce, as I had assumed, but jogging along with a relaxed smile on his face, looking around and taking in the view. He sees me looking at him, and he waves at me. Right, okay. Try not to move around too much, please, says Lily, making me turn my head back to the front and adjust my posture slightly. For a while, I had just taken the sights. For once, other people are moving out of our way on the road, instead of me moving out of theirs. Reaching the city doesn't take more than an hour, much faster than it would have on foot. Although I suppose that with my recent increase in endurance and dexterity, I should be able to jog quite some distance. How do we find about these villages that have been attacked? I asked. Without turning her head, Lily nods towards a large building that we are moving towards. The local churches are amongst the first to know about things such as these. We only left here a few hours ago, but perhaps they have learned something new in the meantime. I nod in understanding, before realizing that she can't see it. That makes sense. By the way, which god or goddess are you two paladins of? I must confess that I'm not overly familiar with the signs of most gods. We are devotees of the elven god Vitus, who represents harmony and survival, she replies. And who do you follow? Who do I follow? It must have been years since I last prayed. The last time must have been, when my parents sent me away. I try remembering which god it was they were worshipped. Theodatus, the god of farming, Lily asks, a hint of surprise in her voice. I would have expected Kamal, the god of swords, or perhaps Uruzura, the god of strength, due to you being an adventurer. I used to be a farmer, I explained quietly. There was a famine, and my parents sent me away with a sword and the rest of the food. After that, I became an adventurer. The god of farming didn't seem to fit me anymore, but, as I said, I don't know much about the other gods. I'm sorry for your loss, Lily said softly, the horses plodding through the streets. Neither of us speak for a few moments. The priests here will be glad to tell you about their deity. If you wish to change who you follow, just keep in mind that you do not need to follow a deity that relates to your chosen profession. You should choose one whose ideology and beliefs mirror yours, she explains. Thanks. When they reach the church shortly, they dismount from the horses, and the young boy takes hold of both pairs of reins, guiding the horses to the stable off to the side of the church. We walk inside. Inside is a massive multi-tiered circular area, every tier lined with shrines bearing the symbols of different deities. Some have priests tending to them, while others stand largely abandoned. People mill about, offering prayers and tributes. These windows are covered with some sort of colored glass depicting various scenes. The enormity and the majesty of the building makes me feel tiny, insignificant in comparison to the hundreds of deities represented in this place. Humbled, I quietly walk, asking a few questions of the priest here and there. There are a lot of gods to go through, too many to go through in a week, let alone in the hour or so that I wander around. But I managed to go through quite a few. I even visited the shrine of Adiadatus. Some deities have similar beliefs and ideals, while some of them are quite, unique. But now that I think about it, all of them could be loosely termed as good, or at least can't be described as evil. Are there no evil gods, or are they just not represented here? You know, religion is very different on how religion was in my homeworld, Gerald says suddenly. Really? In what way, I ask him. Well, he begins, for one thing, every religion was sort of this silent holy war. They were all believed that they were the only true religion, and were all thus trying to spread to as many people as possible, while simultaneously telling people why the other religions were false and trying to pick holes in their beliefs and such. Confused, I ask. True religion? Yeah, the one religion that was right, see? Every religion claimed that their God had created the world and everything on it, and there could only be one God who had created everything, right? So you had so many religions in one place like this here, talking about their beliefs so openly, there would be arguments everywhere. Hell, there'd probably be riots. All I can say is, wow. That reminds me, which one of these created this world? Or is it all of them, he asks. I have no idea, so I asked the priest nearby. Who created the world? The voice behind me says, crap, who would speak so vulgarly in a church? The priest in front of me, a bald man dressed in white, frowns in confusion. I'm afraid I don't know, child. If you wait a moment, I'll ask my God, and perhaps he will gift us with the answer you seek. He bows his head down at the shrine behind him, his lips moving soundlessly as he prays. Finally, he stands up and sighs. I'm afraid he hasn't... Wait. He breaks off, seemingly listen to an unheard voice with an expression of rapture. The tears glisten in the corner of his eyes as he said, My God has told me that the world existed before even the gods. Well, there you have it, I tell Gerald. All right, that was convenient, he says strangely. What more does he want? A God personally answered his question. At that moment, an armored hand grabs my wrist and starts pulling me along towards the exit. I have a moment of panic before I recognize the person dragging me along. Luck, what's happening? I ask, regaining my balance, swiftly walking alongside him. He releases my wrist. We need to go now. He urges me, hurrying along with a pace that feels entirely inappropriate for this holy place. In a matter of seconds, we are outside and back on the horses. I am not sure whether to be relieved that I'm behind luck because I won't be distracted by being so close to a woman, or disappointed that I'm not behind Lily because I won't be so close to a woman. I think Gerald has affected me. Why else would I be thinking of something so useless in a serious situation? What happened? I asked him on the trot through the town. When Luck replies, his voice is thick with worry. Skeletons are attacking almost every village where the priests here know about. Alarmed, I ask, what about the army, the adventurers? Surely they are doing something. We did not want to waste the time it would take to have gotten and find out. However, it would be ridiculous if they were not assisting, Lily answered, in a similar tone in her voice. That's true. But then again, why didn't they help in the last 2 villages that we saved? End of chapter. And that, my friends, is the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please consider supporting the author from the links down below. And if you'd like to support this channel, there are numerous ways listed down below. The easiest of which would be to share this channel, subscribe, like and comment, and all the other stuff that Google wants us to push. But anyways, until the next video, I hope that you all have a good one, and I'll see you then. Cheers.